What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. And as promised, guys, I am back for a review of Demons 2 on 4K. I said I was going to review both Demons films on 4K, and I am back to deliver. Just watched this film last night, and I'm excited to talk about it. But before we get into it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We talk about all things physical media on this channel, Blu-rays, 4Ks, owning the movies that you love, all that stuff there behind me every single day. So if you like that kind of stuff, hit the subscribe button. And also comment down below, guys, how do you feel about Demons 2? Are you a fan of this sequel, this Italian horror sequel, directed by Lamberto Bava? A lot of people called me out in the last review. Actually, I think it was just a couple of people. Look, I need you guys to understand something. I can barely speak English on a regular basis. I have a very tough time with any kind of name pronunciations and stuff like that. I do the best I can. I know it's no excuse. I need to do better, and I will do better. Lamberto Bava directed this film. It's also produced by Dario Argento, as the first one was. So they must have rushed this one into production because it came out in 1986, the year after the first Demons. So the first Demons must have been a pretty popular horror film when it released. You can let me know that in the comments section below. I didn't dive into the entire history of the Demons films. I should have before I got on here to talk about it, but I did not. This is going to be a weird review, guys. Look, a lot of my reviews are weird, but it's like 1 o'clock in the morning when I'm filming this, so I'm all over the place. But I watched Demons 2, and I'm excited to talk about it, so I just want to jump on here and do this review real quick. So Demons 2, like I said, directed by Lamberto Bava. I enjoyed this one. Quite a bit. I heard a lot of people say that Demons is like a horror masterpiece, and Demons 2 is pretty good, but it's nowhere near the first Demons. I enjoyed the first Demons. I thought the first Demons was very good. I would not call it a horror masterpiece. Now, I've only seen it once, maybe upon rewatching, I'll grow to love it, but I think Suspiria is a horror masterpiece. I think Zombies a horror masterpiece. I think Deep Red, Tenebrae, like those films by Dario Argento and also Lucio Fulci. City from Beyond the Grave. Is that what you call it? City of the Living Dead. Sorry, guys. City of the Living Dead. That's a great film as well. Demons I enjoyed, really liked. Wouldn't hold up there to those movies, but I know that there are people that do. So going into Demons 2, I was kind of expecting a little bit of a drop-off. And I really didn't get it. Like, I think that Demons 2, it's noticeably not as good as the first Demons. But I think Demons 2 has a lot of merit to it. And I think it's pretty close. Like, I think the gap between Demons and Demons 2 as far as quality isn't that far. Isn't as far as some people would make you to believe, which is good. If you like the first Demons, you'll probably like Demons 2. So if you bought Demons on 4K and you were thinking Demons 2 was crap, don't think that. Because if you enjoy Demons 2 is really cool. I like this movie because it changes things up and it makes it feel different from the first one. It doesn't just, well, it kind of does similar things to the first one, but it changes the setting, which I think is very important when you're doing sequels, when you're trying to change things up, make things feel different. Changing the setting can really do a lot to just give the film its own distinct feel. So that's what this movie does. It takes the theater setting from the first one, switches it to a high-rise setting, which kind of reminded me a lot of Evil Dead Rise, actually, which came out last year. So I'm not saying that Evil Dead or this movie was copying off Evil Dead Rise. Obviously, this came first, but I do find that kind of interesting, and it kind of makes me think that Evil Dead Rise was kind of paying a little bit of tribute to Demons 2 because there are very similar elements involved in both. But Demons 2, it takes place in a high-rise, and you kind of follow around all these characters within this apartment building. Everybody seemingly has their own set distinctive stories going on, but they're all kind of connected as well. People seem to know each other. There's a girl that's having a birthday party, and everybody in the building seems to know that it's her birthday and she's having a party. So that you got that going on. You got a couple that the wife is pregnant and he's studying for an exam the next day. So I like how they set up all these characters. They all seem to have their little eccentricities to them, which a lot of Italian films have very eccentric characters. That's just kind of the way that they're cut and made. But I really enjoyed all that. I like the character building, the setup. It's really cool, and it kind of does the same thing that the first one does, where they're all in the theater watching the movie, and the movie kind of blends with reality, and you're kind of, watching the movie as you're watching them, and the things that are happening in the movie are happening in real life or start to happen in real life. That kind of happens in this movie too, but they change it up a little bit. Everybody's in their different apartment rooms, and they're watching a movie on TV, and they're all watching the same movie. It's some kind of like big movie event on TV. So that's kind of how they bring in the movie element, like they did with the first one, into this movie. Only something really weird and gnarly and like otherworldly happen, other dimensional kind of stuff happens to bring the demons into this movie, which I thought was really cool. Not going to spoil it if you haven't seen it, but I actually thought that was a really awesome way to kick off the demonic plague in this building. And that's really what it is. Like, the demons are a plague. They're going around, they're spreading the virus. It's almost like I said with the first one, almost like a zombie film, only it's with demons. They bite you, they scratch you. You turn into a zombie as well. Now, I will say the thing that holds this one back from being as great as the first one is it's really kind of a retread of everything that happened in the original. It's kind of like Home Alone 2 to Home Alone. Home Alone 2 changed the settings, but everything that happened in Home Alone 1 really happens in Home Alone 2, and it's kind of a retread. Like, you get the zombie scene where they're all running up the steps with the glowing eyes. That reminds you of the scene in the first Demons film when they're all running with the screen in the back of them down the hallway with the glowing eyes. So they do a lot of, like, the imagery is similar in this one. I will say, I think the practical and special makeup effects were done better in the first one as well. So that's another big positive I would give to the first one over the second one. The second one's good, but there's certain scenes, and especially in 4K, and certain like things that happen and certain characters with the demonic makeup. But there's certain moments where the makeup it kind of looks a little rubbery and a little fake and just not as good and realistic as the first one did. So I don't know if they were operating on a lower budget with this one or what the deal was, but the makeup just doesn't look as good in this one. Overall, it still looks really good, like compared to a lot of other films around this time, like it's top tier. It just doesn't look as good as the first one, because I think the first Demons movie has some of the best practical makeup effects I've ever seen. That being said, I really enjoyed this film. I think it's not on par with the first one, but it's in the same ballpark. It's in the same league. I think it's a really solid horror film. Italian horror film from the 80s. I think it's a lot of fun and a really good movie. So, look, let's talk about the 4K. Let's talk about the 4K. Is that why you're here, to hear about the actual 4K picture quality? Well, this is a native 4K. Like I said with the last review, guys, in HDR, Dolby Vision has all the bells and whistles. Like I said in the last review, these have already come out on 4K from Synapse Films. They released a double pack back in 2021. So these are already out on 4K. It's good to have, sometimes it's good to just have the individual versions. Maybe you wanted Demons, but you didn't want Demons 2. But I did want to call that out. There is a double pack available. Might potentially be available on the Synapse or MVD website right now. But picture quality wise, guys, this is excellent. Like, Synapse Films just doesn't make a bad 4K. I've never seen a bad 4K from them, and I've never seen a bad Blu-ray from them. It always looks spectacular. This is also on a 100 gigabyte disc, so there's no compression issues. It just has all the room to run wild as a 4K transfer, and it does that, guys. This looks absolutely immaculate. It works against the film just a little bit, like I said, because that special effects work just doesn't hold up quite like the first one does, in my opinion, guys. This is only my opinion. But the transfer is just fantastic. Synapse Films, like I've said it before, but their Blu-rays look like they're 4K, and their 4Ks just look like some of the best 4Ks I have ever seen, and Demons 2 is no exception. And like I said, I love the setting here. I don't think it's as flashy and grand as the first one in the theater. I feel like the theater setting had more colors going on, and this one visually is very good as well, but it's just different because it's really just a bunch of apartment rooms, and it just doesn't have a ton of variety as far as the visual. So I don't think that those quite stand out like the first one did, but it's still a fantastic transfer. Like, the makeup looks great. You can see everything crystal clear. Like, if you watch this on VHS back in the day, you've been watching Demons since it came out, you saw it in the theaters, like, you're going to see things that you have never, ever seen before. Just super clean, crystal clear picture quality, but still has that good grain structure there. You can still tell that you're watching an actual film. It is very filmic in its presentation, but I thought it looked fantastic. I mean, Synapse Films just really doesn't miss when it comes to their 4K. So really great 4K presentation here. Now getting into the audio, you have the Master Audio 2.0 mono track, you have the regular 2.0, you have the 5.1, all in English and in Italian, because you can switch back and forth between Italian and English. You have the 2.0 and the 5.1. So I listen to this in English, as I do most of my Italian horror films, because a lot of times when you're watching Italian horror films, they'll have English actors and Italian actors, and I've explained this before, but I would just rather listen to it in my language if I'm going to have to listen to dub anyway, because ordinarily I don't like dub. But if I'm going to have to listen to it anyway, then I would rather just listen to it in English. So I watch my Italian films usually in English, but everything sounded great, and it's great that they have multiple audio options with the 2.0 and the 5.1, because I do not believe the first Demons had that 5.1. I think it was just the 2.0. And the soundtrack here, I will say this one positive for this, I feel like versus the first, is the score is freaking awesome. And I don't know who did this. I probably should have looked that up. But it was a lot more, it had a lot more oomph to it. It felt a lot more heavy metal and like really like rock infused compared to the first one. So I really enjoyed the score to Demons 2. I thought Demons 2 score was freaking awesome, and it sounded great. And getting into the packaging, pretty much the same complaint that I had with the first one. I just don't think this is the best kind of artwork. I actually think this is a little bit better than the first one's artwork. Like, it had that classic image of the demon bursting out of somebody in the face, and that's really creepy, but I think this one has a little bit more going on. You got Sally right there. Was that her name? Sally? Sarah? I can't quite remember what her name was. When she comes out of the bedroom, that's a freaking awesome moment in the movie. And I think that's also her down there. I could be wrong. But there's just more going on visually on this cover. So I like this cover. It's just a little bit better than the last one. But I'll flip it to the back. You got the special features right there, which we'll get into here in a second. And you open this up, and we're going to find out what her name is, because I got her birthday invitation card right here on the inside. So just like we had the golden ticket with the first one, we have the birthday invitation here, and it is Sally. Sally Day's birthday party, the Tower Complex, apartment 936. So it has all the date and time and everything. On the back right here, on the back of this card, I don't know if the first one had this, but it tells you about the transfer a little bit, so you can learn how they did the remastering, which I think is super cool for sure. And you do have some nice sweet disc art right there. And then you have a reversible artwork, which when you flip it, you have the original poster art for Demons 2. So getting into the special features, guys, you have pretty much all the archival stuff, all the stuff that was on the previous 4K edition from Synapse Films. The double pack is in this, and I think a lot of the stuff that was in the Arrow Video edition, which I do have back there in the collection, is in this set as well, because I believe the one special feature that I listened to was the visual essay by Alexandra Heller-Nicholas, where she kind of breaks down the thematics of Demons and Demons 2 and just really dives into both of those films and the themes and everything that's going on. So that's a really good special feature, but it had Arrow Video before it started. So I don't think that Synapse has done any of their own special features for Demons and Demons 2. I could be wrong. Maybe they did an audio commentary or something, but that was from Arrow Video, and a lot of the other stuff is just some really old, like, past archival stuff. So nothing new here. Ultimately, guys, this is a really great release by Synapse Films. Really enjoyed the film. The transfer is immaculate. There's tons of special features to dive into. Packaging is a little basic. I mean, come on, Synapse, could you not at least put a slip cover on it? You know how we like our collectible pieces of cardboard. But another thing I'll say, guys, this is going for $33.49, so it's a little bit more expensive than the first one on Amazon, maybe cheaper on their actual website itself. I'll try to do a little digging. If it's cheaper, I'll post it down there, but if it's not, I'll just keep the Amazon link down below. So not exactly sure why it's more expensive, $33.49 versus $25.99, I think it was for the first one, but it is, so that is definitely worth pointing out. But Demons 2, I still think at $33.49 is worth the price if you don't have it in the collection. It's a really fun 80s Italian horror movie for sure. But thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time.